Well, we're going to get started. I left it ajar, so you can come in if you'd like to. So thank you so much. Hi, Ma. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is our first of 3 workshops that we're going to do over the summer for professional development, specifically for USU staff. The next one coming up is on professionalism, and that's next week on the 5th, right? And then we have one coming up on the 19th. About the ethnic studies and women's studies departments and what they have to offer. So today we're focusing on social media and marketing as a professional and developmental skill. This kind of came about as we discussed building programs and the importance of using social media to reach out to the broader Cal State L.A. community, get ideas from that community, feedback from that community, and most of all get them to come here to attend the programs that we worked so hard to put together. So we have experts here, expert panelists that are recruited for you, paid the big bucks. So we have Michael Chiem from Public Affairs. Michael is like, I'm going to put that. So he's like a genius with social media and marketing and has led a lot of us to reflect on how we're using it. And then Shaniqua, we admire her for the way she uses social media to build up her center. Pan-African Research Center. And I'm also going to play Maria Villalobos, who's not here. She's on jury duty, doing her civic duty, but she did contribute her slides. And she and Fred run the CCC social media. So all the things you see on Facebook or Twitter that are CCC oriented comes from those two. So the goal is for you to feel more equipped to use it, but also be more inspired to use social media for programming, and that's not just a programmer thing, that's like everybody thing, because we know we work very unilaterally with these programs and putting them together, so we don't work well without operations, without graphics, without admin, and so everybody can contribute to retweeting and posting and all those different things, and so we're going to go over how that kind of works. So our agenda is the introduction I just did, and then Michael is going to discuss social media from a public affairs perspective, but also like the marketing strategies that we can employ. Maria/me will come in and talk about the CCC strategies that we're already employing and why we do the things that we do. Shaniqua's going to share some of her tips from the CSRC playbook. And then we're going to kind of open the floor if you have any best practices that you want to suggest that you use, and any questions you may have on how we can use it moving forward. Does that sound good? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to give the mic over to Michael to get us started. Oh, I just kind of went over that. The purpose of the training: why do we use social media in the USU? Who's responsible for promoting the programs? And what are some of our best practices and benefits and peer-to-peer strategies? So one of the big things we want to take away is like, I think sometimes there's a myth that like only programmers can promote, and that's completely untrue. Like, we really work as a unit in the USU, and we really have a lot of pride in the USU, so everybody can be a part of that. That's like one of the main takeaways. And now I have to finish.
So So hey guys, my name is Chiem. I am the account manager for Cal State L.A. social media, and today I'm going to talk about what Cal State does on social media, and most importantly, why we use it. So for Cal State L.A. social media platforms, currently we are on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And the biggest question is, are you guys following us right now? Because our backslash, our username is Cal State L.A. So what do we post on each platform? So for Instagram, specifically for Instagram, we post very artistic photos of the campus. There was an article written in Time magazine that said that high school students choose colleges based on how colleges look, and they're using Instagram as that tool to kind of find out how their colleges look like. So for Instagram, we're really utilizing very nice pictures, but we're also utilizing the geolocation feature because students are clicking on that geolocation and they're seeing what other students are posting around that feature. So for Twitter, we use it as more of a customer service tool. So when students ask questions, we like to have that personal connection to them and just tweeting them back if they have any questions or just supporting them. For Facebook, we post updates about school activities, accomplishments students had. And for LinkedIn, we use it to keep in touch with alumni. So what are our strategies? In the beginning, we focused on social media, like I would say 2 years ago. And our first phase for our strategy for using social media was first to build brand awareness. Because in the beginning, students didn't even know we were on Facebook. They didn't know we were on Twitter or Instagram. So using that strategy of brand awareness and actually shouting out students and liking their pictures and stuff like that, they know that, hey, we're active, we're on social media. Phase 2, this is where we are at currently, is kind of increased engagement. So by posting content, stuff like that, you would see like more students liking stuff and commenting on pictures. And they couldn't do that if they didn't know we existed. So brand awareness is definitely a very important strategy. And in the future, we're using it to drive action. So we're using social media to drive action and kind of more of an activation to kind of do something, go to more events. So social media, we use it as a tool. Other platforms that we know that you guys are on, but Cal State L.A. isn't on, is Snapchat and Yak. Cal State L.A. doesn't use it, but we use it as a listening tool. We're using it to see what students are saying and just reporting if there's any like bad stuff on it. Like Snapchat, I know like there's that account, and Yak, we use it to see like what students are saying. And for Snapchat, just because we weren't on it, we still wanted a presence on it, so we created that geo filter. And have you guys seen that geo filter for Cal State L.A. on Snapchat? It was active like 3 weeks ago. So trends on social media, we see more live streaming apps, especially with Periscope and Meerkat. And people want stuff in the moment. They want it live. So live streaming apps is definitely a huge trend in social media right now. Influencer marketing. Influencer marketing is if you want a higher reach, and as your own account, you can't get that reach, so you're contacting influencers in that field to kind of help you get that higher reach. So dealing with like Vine celebrities, Snapchat, famous people, they're more, I would say, they're more influential than, I would say, celebrities, because they're really close with their followers and they actually interact with them. And also video content. If you guys notice, like on Facebook right now, there's a lot of videos being shared and most of it's being played automatically. Like you don't have to click it no more. It's being played, and that's being utilized across all platforms because people don't read anymore. Like they stare at pictures or they use video to kind of digest information. So a couple of best practices, I would say just Google your name. Like, what do you find when you Google your name? And how do you want to brand yourself, online and offline?
I'm just going to jump in on the best practices. Googling your name is an interesting activity. You have no idea what's out there until you Google your name. Even stuff that you didn't post, stuff you're mentioned in, pictures you're tagged in. I think it's a good thing to do every now and then. I do it, just saying, and it's been interesting. But I think that it's a great way to, one, be aware of how you're being put out in the world. That's sometimes outside of your control. That's something that we have to recognize about social media. Like, a lot of stuff is outside of our control. If somebody takes a picture of you and they decide they want to put it up, you really can't do much to stop that, right? But you need to be aware that it's out there, and that way you can get ahead of it in certain ways. But you can also use it to your advantage. You can use it to control what's going out there. So I'll give you an example. Like, before, when I first started performing, there was no YouTube, and there wasn't this huge social media thing. So, you know, I would just roll up to gigs like, hey, what's up? I'm here to do some poems. I didn't care about necessarily how I was dressed, if I had makeup, if I was picture ready. And then people started Googling people, and all my pictures were like pregnant, performing, like, and looking like I was just fresh out of bed or something, like not caring. I was like, oh no, I need to put my life together, and I need to be picture ready, because I had to control how I was being branded. So now when I go to gigs, I'm aware that people are going to take pictures of me on stage, or people are going to do this, and they're going to share it, and it changes your consciousness about how you interact. But you also need to be aware that people can use it in a negative way to, you know, troll you and bring you down. So another part of that best practice is being aware about screenshotting. Yes, because, you know, a year even ago or 2 years ago, even if you posted something, you could go back and kind of like delete it or remove it. But now people screenshot you, and so that is in their phones and being spread and being like this. You really have to think about what you want to say and how you want to be perceived and how you want your message to be received. I do not recommend emotional social media interaction. Give yourself 20 minutes to calm down, edit, re-edit, write it out. There's pen and paper still. You use that. Do it in your notes on your phone before you put it up. I see now a lot of people do edit it. So now when I see people post all the time, it says like edit it at the bottom, because thank goodness that feature is on there. But really being aware that putting something into the social media world is being aware that there's something you can't get back. There's things you can't take back that can be used for or against you. So that is really important as a part of your best practices.
And also some couple of other best practices are that you guys know that Google and Yahoo, they're also search engines, but social media platforms are also search engines too. So if you're like using employers or other people could type in the search bar keywords that's associated with their brand or associated with like you, and they could find out like what you've been saying stuff, and they could kind of sneak around if you're private too. So just be careful with that. Along with social media, like socially, they also come with professional benefits. So if you're like passionate about where you work, why not show people? So it's also great for portfolio building on your resume. Portfolio can be a website or a blog to showcase your work that you've done for your department or for your company. It's also great to gain new transferable skills too. So some skills that you can gain from social media application is customer service, targeted marketing, media planning, strategic planning, content creation, trend spotting, time management, social media management tools. There's a lot of skills that you could apply to social media. So for example, customer service, if you're reading like a comment, replying to that comment is a form of customer service because you're trying to take action and calm that person down, or just to inform them about other services that they need help with. Targeted marketing, let's say that if you want to reach a specific type of person, you could use social media to target that specific audience by where they live, by location, by gender, by other followers that they follow. Media planning is also a great tool because I would say media planning is probably the most important tool because if you want to know where that audience is and how to reach them, social media is like the best place to do it. So like especially for millennials, you see millennials are more on like Snapchat and Instagram. Strategic planning, it's great to build strategies and know what you're doing on each specific platform. Content creation, you gotta keep these platforms like active on. So coming out with content is like a great skill to apply to social media. Trend spotting, if you want to get into like what's happening right now, trend spotting is kind of it is a tool, especially on Twitter where you can see like what's trending or like on Yahoo and just getting in on that topic. Time management, it's great because with social media it could kind of be really chaotic, so come up with an editorial calendar of what you're posting on what day and who's posting what, and also social media management tools. I'm going back to time management and social media being chaotic. There's tools out there that can help you schedule when you want things to be posted, and there's also analytics tools too. So some business goals on social media is that you have to think strategy versus tactic. So strategy is what you want to do, and a tactic is how you want to do it. So strategies that we use for Cal State L.A. is increased brand awareness, drive word of mouth, or electronic word of mouth since it's digital, and just create better customer engagement. Cross-cultural signals.
So this is the Maria part. I will also add that another skill is communication is a great skill that you develop with social media. A lot of people, they write how they speak sometimes. And so one of the things you learn through social media is, you have to think before you write so that you can communicate your message better because you don't have the benefit of face-to-face contact to know if the person is receiving this well, if you said it correctly, or you have to account for that. So your communication gets a lot clearer by using social media as a tool. So how these tools and these tactics and strategies that Michael discussed relate to the work we do and the programming that we do is primarily is promotion. Like one of the big things about the Student Union and about the Cross-Cultural Center and CSI is we work really hard to put together these events that benefit the students across the campus. And what we don't want is to see just the same students only benefiting from that when there's 30,000 students here. We really want to bring in students who think that school is just about going to class and leaving. We want them to stop and enjoy a program, stop and learn something different, stop and engage and meet a new group of people. So for us, that's the number one reason for using social media. We're a diverse campus, and we are in need of cross-cultural competency. So sometimes we rely on the fact that we are a diverse campus in terms of numbers to mean the same thing as cross-cultural competency, and it doesn't. Just having people of different ethnic groups on the same campus doesn't make you competent about the needs of those individual groups. We learn that by bringing them here for programming. We teach that by bringing them here for programming. And so part of our outreach has to be not making the assumption that just because we're diverse means that people will automatically come into these programs. No, people are going to say, oh, there's a program on Black people, I'm just going to go because I'm Black. Or, oh, there's a program about API, I'm just going to go. We can't rely on that. We have to reach out and say, they may never have really thought about race. They may never have thought about identities or ethnicities or any of those things, gender. And so our outreach has to come from a place of we want everybody to come into the door and be exposed to this. So what that means is that our staff here has to be cross-culturally competent. So that means that everybody they meet that walks through this door at the union has to be somebody who can answer questions about multiple ethnicities. I would even go on to say multiple religious preferences, different identities. We should be able to create an inclusive environment from the time they hit the door. We're not going to be able to do that if we are not cross-culturally competent. So not only does being on social media give us a chance to demonstrate that to others who we want to come in the door, but it keeps us aware, right? Like, it keeps us knowing what's happening in these different communities. Even if you're not a part of that, you don't consider yourself identifying as part of that community, you see it trending online, you see it coming up on the timelines of your friends, you can stop and read an article, you can bring that article into coworkers, and this is how we can become a more cross-culturally competent space for students on campus. So I wanted to show you, and I'm not techie at all, so I hope this does it right, but I wanted to show you the Cross-Cultural Center page to give you an example of what we do. And this is kind of going to bleed into the next slide, but it's still cool. So, as I mentioned, Fred and Maria both navigate the CCC page. And so, some of the things that, and this is a light page, I believe. Some of the things that, is this a light page? Yes, a light page, okay. Some of the things that we wanted to talk to you about was, how do we decide what to post? What do we post? And why do we post that specifically? So, one, everyone should follow this page if you're working in USU. Two, if you use this page as an example of what you can post or what you can talk about or how you can engage students that could be prospective visitors to the USU, it's a perfect guideline because a lot of the things that are, well, everything that's posted is one, there's no opinion in it. We don't say how we feel about it. We just say, were you aware that this is happening in the world? And what are your opinions on that? What are your views about that? How do you feel about that? One thing I noticed is that all of the cross-cultural posts usually end with a question. So that it's an open-ended question so that students and people can respond. And those responses give us an idea of what's trending and what's important and what's the feedback. And that leads to what's a good program, right? So this is a way of us gathering information. This is a way of seeing what our students' needs are. It's a way of making students more aware of what's going on. And so it's not framed as an opinion. It ends with an open-ended question. And it's also, the article comes from a reliable source. This is super important because it would be really embarrassing to repost something from like 2002 or to post something that's a hoax from a satirical website, which happens a lot because just like Michael said, social media is chaotic and it's rapid and it's reactive. So a lot of times people are posting even with good intentions, but it's really not responsible or reliable posting. So making sure that the site is definitely a reliable source, that the topic is researched and is something that's credible to put up and pose to students. So there was one the other day. I tend to like all of them, but so these are just so you can look and see some of the examples of the ones we do. This one was about a workshop, so that was informative. There's me at EOP. So we can skip that. So those are examples of how that's used. Let me see if I can get back to whatever it was. That one's full of tabs. Yeah. Okay, fine. I'm here. That's good. So as we said, never post opinions. Post open-ended questions. Don't make assumptions about your audience's point of view. So we're a cross-cultural center, and the people who like our page are probably the people who have some interest in the cross-cultural center. That doesn't mean we should assume that audience is cross-culturally competent, that audience only wants to hear about specific social justice things. We try to mix in other things. We shouldn't make any assumptions that limit what the audience may want to know. And we shouldn't say, well, because there's a certain group that, we're just going to give them this type of information. So you'll see if you go on the page that it's really broad, the different subjects that we cover and that we post. Using politically correct and appropriate language. So when it seems easy, like to just like put out an idea, but really language changes all the time, especially when you're talking about social justice in different groups and different issues. So making sure that the language you're using is inclusive, is not offensive, and is not politically slanted. Is pretty important as well. So we use it to share current events that are CCC So we use it to talk about what we've done, what we want to do, what we're going to do. And not just, I think, and we also do stuff that's, union related. We want ideas that make the students more socially aware, and we want to gather information for future programs. So we know we have like our program planning meetings, which everyone should come to and put input on. For instance, if someone in graphics is on Facebook and sees a great article, it would be great if they brought that article into the ZCC and said, hey, I want you all to do a program on that. That's how we as a USU family can filter in those ideas. But it's great, like I said, for gathering that information, for knowing what's relevant, what's important to them, what they even care about. We could post stuff and nobody comments or likes, so clearly that's not going to be a program. But if we post something and it's like 25 people respond, now we have some sort of digital information as opposed to just when we're meeting face to face. Everybody's not coming into that program planning meeting, but everyone has access to state their opinion about a program here. We share the programs, times, dates, the programs are going on. It's a great way to remind people. It's another teaser to say, hey, come by, we're having an event. And we make our presence known throughout the campus. So, there's a lot of faculty on Facebook that are friends of, or like the page, or friends of the page. And so that kind of outreach is really important as we strive to bring more students from just going to the classrooms into the USU. So I'm going to turn it over to Shaniqua, who's going to tell you some tips and tricks that she uses for her center, which are successful.
Okay. Everybody know my name. I'm Shaniqua, and I'm the program coordinator of the Pan-African Student Resource Center. So these are just some tips that I thought would be helpful if you want to start branding your center on your personal social media page. Well, first off, I have 2 separate Facebooks. I always say there's one with me with straight hair, it's my personal one, and I have one with me curly hair, and that's my CCC one because it's a picture of me in the CCC, and then my cover photo is like a picture of a really good event that I like and have a lot of students who are happy and smiling. So, so then it's really easy to depict which one is my actual page. So when students come into the center, I automatically have my Facebook page open, and then I say, well, I have a conversation, and then I say, well, can I add you on my Facebook page, right now? And I'll have them sign into their thing, because finding people is a little hectic sometimes. So I have them sign in or add me, or just find themselves on my page and add me that way. So then I already have their account linked to mine, and they can already access my account if they want to look at my programs or anything that I'm doing. I also put be genuine with your outreach. I think that being genuine is just super important because people can feel that and they sense it. And when they feel and sense that you're coming from a good place, then it makes them want to come back to the center more. Because that's what I experienced when I came to the CCC. So it works. I'm here forever. So also be consistent with your outreach because you probably won't get that person the first time, but if you keep coming back or you keep seeing that person on campus and saying, hey, did you have a chance to drop by the CCC, or hey, did you have a chance to go to that event or something like that, then they're like, okay, I'll actually go this time. So consistency is always good. Comment, when you're on your Facebook, comment and like other people's posts because it makes it look like you're not just doing to put up your event and that's it. Because at first that's what I was doing. But commenting and actually liking other people's posts is like, oh yeah, Shaniqua, you like this post. It makes you seem like an actual person instead of just you're just up there for your own thing. And know when not to comment. If it's something that someone is posting a personal business and you're like, hey girl, you should not be, don't bash other people. Know when not to place your own opinion and things like that because then you don't want anybody to have a personal vendetta against you. And be inclusive with your posts, of course. And connect. Finding social media royalty. What I mean by that is find the people who are always on social media. Like they have Snapchat, they have Instagram, they have Facebook, and they're consistent on all pages. That's your social media royalty, and you should know that person, love that person, because they're the people who are gonna always share your posts. They're going to be the people who are always commenting on your posts and other posts and sharing it or tagging on other people's pages. Also, tag. Tagging is, well, we all know what tagging is, I presume. Does everybody know what tagging is? Yes, okay, good. So when I post something about my event, I'm really insecure, so I think that nobody's gonna look at it or they're just gonna keep strolling. So to make sure that they look at it, I tag all the people or everybody I can think of at the moment. So you see like 150 people tagged on it on a specific event, and it's not because that specific person I know that they relate to that event. It's just because their name popped in my head real quick. So I tag as many people as I can, especially your social media royalty, because then they're going to share that or share it and tag other people or things like that. And also have a sense of humor. People might put something negative on there and you can just laugh it off or just downplay it. So yeah, these are all good tips that I've learned, and also some things I want to do in the future is like Thea was saying before is to be more inclusive. I've posted other events on my page, but in the future I want to post more events, anything that students would be interested in, period. And also tag people, also adding people from other centers because we're all cool. So adding other people from other centers also was a good tip too, because at first my struggle was I didn't know who to add. Because I would have my regulars, but you need more than just your regulars coming to your events, like you said. So I would go on like Tawan's page, and I would look at Tawan's friends, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that person from campus, or that person said, yes, I do. And I would see that person says that they're attending Cal State L.A, and I know that person, see them on campus or something, so I would add them to my page. And they're free to choose if they want to add me or not. I would go on Jasmine's page or Carlos's page or Devin's page or whatever and just search for people I recognize who says that they're from Cal State L.A. just because I was, like I said, I was insecure and I didn't want people to look at my stuff. So that's just some great tips to get your CCC social media or USC social media page started.
So we wanted to open the floor and let you share some of your best social media practices and how we could all maybe use those or implement those into, especially coming up fall. Fall's gonna be busy. Fall's gonna be crazy. So we want to be really intentional with how we're using a lot of these tools. So what are some of your best social media practices? Things you want to warn against, things that have backfired for you on social media. I'll share one. I also, in what she said about like when people post negative stuff, as soon as somebody posts something negative, I move them to private message. I move them to private message because you don't need an audience. If you get an audience, it's just going to build up really bad. And if I can de-escalate the situation there, I do. If not, I delete the thread and I, let it die out. But you don't want to get into any conflict on your live thread. And in your private message, you still want to be conscious because people are going to screenshot you. Right. So you still have to be like, because of where you work and because of the work you do, you have to be very conscious of how you will come across and how it will be used. Because no one screenshots something for good reasons. I mean, I've never taken a screenshot of something that I used for positive reasons. I probably used it to be like, did you see this? That was not positive. So usually somebody is screenshotting is not for the best situation. And so, you want to be mindful of that. So that's one way. And people can read things totally wrong and it may just be that kind of day. So move them to a private message. It also says that I care enough about you to have this conversation directly as opposed to in front of a million people on Facebook, So that's another best practice I use. Any other best practices anyone wants to add? Yes.
So when I think about social media branding for myself, I think about 3 to 4 things that I want people to take away when they read my Facebook or my Instagram, which is, I'm a social justice educator, student first practitioner, food, and running. So those are the 4 things that I want people to take away from whenever they read my page, and it's worked tremendously for me. Like I've been recently asked to speak on a campus because someone saw my Facebook account and they're like, wow, I know you personally, but after looking at what you've posted about where you were at with your social justice, like I think you'd be a perfect fit for our campus. And I want the students to hear what you have to say about this issue. So in many ways, like being able to think about what people want to take away from your social media is really it's helpful, but also it's focused rather than like I'm gonna do food and then I'm gonna do like a post about my roommate and whatever. So having a focused identity on your social media is helpful. I think there's also a lot of questions about authenticity on social media, but for me, I'm like, well, in person, we also question authenticity. So for me, it's hard for me to see the difference between authenticity between social media and in person because you don't really know who's who until you really get to know them. So
I think that's a good point because, like I said, and like Michael said, it's very chaotic and it's very rapid paced. So the thing about social media is you have to control it or it will control you. You have to define it or it will define you. And right now, it doesn't matter like what platform you think you have or don't have. People pay attention, and so you don't have to be like a super celebrity for people to screenshot you and pay attention to what you're saying. You want to control what the narrative is about you, or as much as possible, because there's some that you can't. But as much as if you're not consciously thinking about it, unconsciously you're feeding into an idea that you don't even know exists. And that's one thing I got. I went to a training, and the woman was like, "It doesn't matter whether you want to be on social media or not. None of that matters. At this point, it is what it is. You have to control it, or it controls you. Define it, or it defines you." So I think thinking about like, okay, what will people think of when they see my page? If they look down this list of things that I post, what will they know about me?
it's also like thinking about it as how paleontologists look at dinosaur bones or like artifacts. Like when they read something or when they see something, like where do they take away or where do they try to synthesize from looking at what they're given? And it's similar to social media. 10 years from now, someone's going to look at your social media and they're going to make assumptions. And it might be your children, it might be your nieces or nephews, but that's what they're going to look at 10 years from now. So what do you want people to look at? What do you want them to remember you as?
Any other best practices? I know y'all use it. I know you've used it wrong. Once or twice, it has backfired. Yes.
Something I do is I rotate between public and private posts, depending on what the subject matter is. Because, like you mentioned in the very beginning, you can be searching on Google very easily, even on Facebook, via your real name or the email address that you're using, basic stuff like that, people can easily find you. And just based off that basic information, even if your post is public and you put like crazy, ridiculous things out there, your employees are looking at that. Even like future employers are looking at that because you are a direct representation of them, even on and off the clock. So I always be mindful of the different kind of posts that I'm posting on there, and the subject matter which is being posted.
And for people here who aren't directly programmers, who are directly over the programming, how do you think you could use your social media platform to boost the attendance and the outreach for the programs that you definitely contribute to, even if you're not the programmer who's overseeing it? But how do you think you could use your social media platforms to contribute to that, just as an individual? Because I think that we also have a culture of people who tend to be followers. So when they see people doing things, they do them. So even individuals can contribute to those trends becoming greater. No?
Well, okay, so I know a lot of people that I know from my school, they don't come here to Union. Like, if I post stuff that I've never seen before, come here, I think that like tagging CC and everything would be good for you.
Yeah. And actually, that's what I was hoping you would say. Because it's true. Like a lot of us working in cross-cultural center, the people we're directly around, they come to the center a lot. But we need to reach the people who don't. And so a lot of operations staff and some graphic staff really have a broader reach in the campus at times and can bring in those people. If they see it on your page, that's very different than seeing it on one of our pages because they expect us to do that. But I think that would be super helpful. And I think that they need to understand that you're part of that program. Because that's how we see it, but that's how we want people outside of here to see it, like that we're all in the union and part of our program building. So yes, you should do that. Any other best practices or tips or warnings, fears, concerns about using social media for promotional purposes? So everybody's going to be like the cyber street team for all programs, USU programs. And this includes like CSI program, like this includes all of our programs. So we don't want it to be exclusive to the CCC.
I'd just like to add that we don't, as a center street team, as much as we used to. We do have the flyers, which are great, but we don't go out and just hand people flyers because the feedback I've heard from CSAs and some PCs is that people are kind of resistant to taking a piece of paper. So I hope the PCs and the CSAs look at social media as a way to street team and dedicate at least some portion of their day to updating their social media sites. I know Mondays are great days because people come in, they start their week off and they check their email, they look at all their social media sites, but doing it more than once, just dedicating a portion, 20 or 30 minutes of your day, just to do your promotion via social media. And I think it's a lot better than being out in the sun.
Yeah.
Street team, you have to
So on that note, Michael, I wonder if you can talk a little bit about, because I think you said something earlier about like multimedia or multi-platform. And can you talk through the ways that if someone feels like they don't have enough time to do it, what are some of the efficient ways, like through the different apps that you can do one post and it goes 50 places?
Yeah.
Can you talk through that a little
So
bit?
like tools, social media tools. So like a great tool for like social media scheduling and to see what people are seeing on a specific topic. I really like Hootsuite because Hootsuite, it's easy. You can just connect it to your Twitter, Facebook, and you can put all your platforms onto a Hootsuite account, and you can see all the streams on one platform. So you could use it as like a mention tool. You can use it as an analytics tool. You can use it as just like a listening tool, and you can also schedule it. Schedule posts too. If you want to be active but you can't be as active as you want, scheduling is like a pretty effective way to do it.
Tumblr allows you to do that too, and you can choose different ones, and you can set a time for it. I know you can do Twitter and Facebook, and I think there's something else you can do through Tumblr, and you can schedule the time. So a lot of them now have caught up to allowing you to do that, and that definitely is more efficient in terms of time.
Also, going back to what Rhonda was saying, like it's better than dedicating a certain amount of time for social media is kind of the same but a different way to street team. I recommend, like when I do my social media, people don't really pay attention if you say, oh, like in 5 months I'm going to have an event, or you know what I mean? It's going to go out the window. Even myself, like working at my other job, if people want me to cover, I was like, don't tell me until the week of, because if you tell me 2 weeks from now, you never told me. Like, so with anything, I always, even with emails or things stuff on social media, it's never too late. I used to think that like if it was a week of, it would be too late to post a meeting. It's already done. Like I missed everybody. But actually, that's like the best time to do it. If anything, you don't have to do it until like the week of, like that Monday, like Rhonda was saying. The best time to do it because people were like, oh yeah, on Thursday there's gonna be an event. Okay, gotta remember that. Then hit them up again on Wednesday. Hey, there's an event Thursday, and then of course the day of. I would say like that morning of. So because the first thing they'll do is check their email when they wake up, or check their Facebook because they're board class or something. Like oh, in a few hours it's gonna be an event. So those are like the best times to do it. So if you have the Monday for anything throughout the week, and then the day before, and if it's late, like if we have like Friday evening, I would still do it like
One thing we did find out when we were doing all the marketing for EagleCon is that students really don't look at, like we give you information about the event 3 weeks before, but students don't decide that they're going to go until maybe 3 days before. So we really had to think about. You worked in EagleCon, yeah. So and they did a great job with all of the Instagram pictures, and so thank you. But that whole 3-day thing was shocking to me, and I learned that through Kate Curtin's class. She has a marketing class where the students were like, "No, we don't. We just look at those 3 days before, and that's how we decide where we're going to go."
And I think that makes sense because that ties into that chaos of being overwhelmed with information. Sometimes I literally will say to people, I can't do things. I only deal with 24-hour cycles. Like, don't talk to me about what's due tomorrow. Don't talk to me about what's due next week because there's so much to focus on every 24 hours. And so that makes a lot of sense when you think about students and all the things they're trying to balance and plan. And so that's basically telling us that that's a really big window, 3 days before any event. And each day in those 3 days is our time to go the hardest on our social media. And when in doubt, like I said, you can always just retweet or repost something that the CCC has already done because you know it's already been filtered and it's already been approved by a reliable source and things of that nature.
There's other tactics too, like especially with social media. Like, have you guys ever thought about when the best time to post is, or what day gets the most reach? So I read an article that said that people are most active in the mornings because what do you do when the first thing you wake up, you check your social media, right? So like that's the best time to post too. Also before you go to bed because you want to catch up what happened that day that you missed.
That's where Hootsuite comes in good because I started posting with my 8 o'clock in the morning. Because I'm besides the CCC stuff, I'm really disattached. Like I'm not attached at all to social media. I'm the first one to like delete a page or something. But Hootsuite is helpful because you can set the time for it to go out at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm not probably going to look at it until later on, or I'm probably not going to come into work later on that day. So that's where Hootsuite is helpful.
Catch them early. I do that. That's a big one. Mornings are big. And Fridays are like almost a loss at times because things get buried on Fridays. People are tuning out on Fridays. But your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, your mornings are like your really good sweet spots. Even in terms of like if I freelance an article and I want that article to get big numbers, that's when I focus my energy and I tend to get much bigger numbers than I do any other time. Lou, you had I'm sorry, do you still remember?
It was me.
Oh, no, Lou, I thought her name was the first one.
Yeah, was it like a Hootsuite?
Oh, that was
Hootsuite? Oh, is it like an account? And like you have to, how does it?
You can just log in through Twitter, Twitter or Facebook. It's either Twitter or Facebook or email.
So,
Mine was a question.
I was going to say that a good tool, or not a good tool, but a good resource to get more social media best practices is called, it's a Facebook group called Social Media Higher Ed Student Rights Professionals, and what they really emphasize on is how do you engage students in college campuses using social media. And so one of the things that they actually talk about is that in social media, using text to promote things is actually doesn't really work anymore. It's actually, people don't really use text or hashtags to promote events. What people really look to when they're trying to engage or outreach to students are videos. This is going back to Michael's point earlier, is using videos and photos because people are more, they'll go towards looking at photos and videos than text because, it's easier.
Which ties into like graphics. I wish someone from graphics was here because getting the JPEG for different events might be helpful in them promoting those events and having a visual that matches the rest of the publicity to put on social media.
Yeah. So, 2 questions.
Okay.
I'll ask them. Hopefully, you can remember. One, if you can talk about, so I know you're a recent graduate,
Yes.
interviewing and everything. can you talk about what the employers you have met with, whether it's employers on campus or off campus, are saying about the importance of embracing and utilizing social media skills as a professional skill? So that's my first question. If you want to take that one, it's like beyond student union, beyond campus, like what's the reality in terms of it is a reality, right?
So I think it depends on what job you want, but universally, people use social media just to keep up with stuff. So especially with employers, if they're seeing you're reposting recent articles, that means that you're really up to date with your industry. You know what's happening, you know the current trends, and just being up to date, not being like old school mentality, that's a really great way of how they see social media, but also seeing that you're really active on it too, and how, because I really want to go into advertising marketing. I think there's social media is very, you need social media in advertising, but going to other like jobs and stuff like that, just being up to date with what's happening is a must.
And then my other question is just about brand awareness in general. If you can talk a little bit more about brand awareness and how it's important, how you think students are looking at whether it's our student union or cross-cultural centers, social media in terms of brand awareness, and what kind of recommendations would you make to all of us around increasing our brands as departments or as, you know?
Sure. So brand awareness is probably the most important strategy, because how are you going to get customers, or I would say customers because I think of it as a business, customers or students knowing about you without knowing you exist. So having that brand awareness and having like the original advertising, such as newspaper ads, traditional marketing versus digital marketing. You first have to make your presence known, and to do that, you just have to be really active in preaching it in all ways. So like having it on all your brochures, your presentations, in the end, like in the corner or something. Knowing people and just telling people that you exist is probably the best brand awareness tactic to do. And going back to how like operations or the student union could come together is through collaboration. So going to her theme is having your social media presence with a theme. So what you've been posting kind of defines like who you are, and that's your theme. And it's just like the theme of life. So what you're into and all of those things, and going back to the operations, is that how operations could kind of come into like CSI or CCC, is that without operations help, like this event couldn't have been possible. So kind of doing like posting pictures of the background of what's happening. Like, thank you operations for helping us promote this event, and they'll get recognition. They'll probably share it on theirs, because I would say like everyone's friends in here. So like you use your handles too when you're sharing.
And another aspect I would say to brand awareness that I think when you are the one producing the work, you're not always conscious of, but it's a bit arrogant not to be, is it matters what people think of you. And I don't say that in a way to like tear down self-esteem or bring us back down to some place who, it's not that. We're talking about as in terms of product development. It matters what people think about what you produce. And you need that feedback. You should want that feedback. You should welcome that feedback. It's not okay to just say, well, I know I do good stuff, and I know I do good work, so that's what matters. No, what matters is that they know you do good work, and they get the message that you do good work. If I sit here and do good stuff, but no one wants to hire me because the message they're getting is that I don't care about what they think about what I do. I'm not open to feedback about what they think that I do. Then you will be the only one purchasing your products or attending your workshops or whatever it is you offer. You have to be open to that feedback, and this is a channel for that feedback. Brand awareness is about knowing how you're being perceived. And so all the great work we're doing doesn't matter if they're not getting the message that it's open to them and that it's for them. If they feel like they're watching us do something that's for us, that's problematic, right? And that's part of what we're challenging ourselves to do right now in the CCC. We're looking at, like, how are we sort of creating these sort of internal strength. They're strong internally, but there's weaknesses in how it's perceived, whether or not people feel they can walk through that door. That's a big problem when we're student fee funded and we need to be here for every single student on this campus. They can't just look and say, oh, that's a space for them. They have to say, oh, that's a space that I can go in and get information, I can learn something, and I can see if I identify. And if I don't, there's other spaces. I can create spaces. I have support here to create spaces. All of that matters. And so it's really important when you think about brand. And I have friends who are amazing artists and performers who no one will hire because they don't care about how they're perceived and they don't care about how they come off. They say, I'm good. I'm the best bass player. I'm the best this. And you can be that at home in your room playing the bass. Or you could be on a world tour with somebody awesome because you understand that that's a relationship. You have a relationship with your audience. You have a relationship with the people who are perceiving you, and you can't devalue them by saying that they don't matter or their feedback doesn't matter. So I think that's a big part of brand awareness that we have to be conscious of. So I hope we all feel empowered to use our social media to control it, and to define it differently, and to use it to bring more students in to benefit from the great work that we do at the USU. If you have any other questions, you can forward them to me, and if I don't know the answer, I will totally forward them to Michael. Sorry, Michael, this was so kind. Or tweet him, or find him on Facebook.
What's your Twitter?
My Twitter is Michael Chiem. Michael Chiem, CHIEM.
And you can fill out the evaluations to let us know feedback on what you learned or what you need in addition to this. Thank you so much. And so, reminder, next week we have another one on Wednesday. Lee Brothers is presenting.
Yes.
Next Wednesday, yeah. Okay, so we'll be back here next Wednesday for some more. Thank you so much for coming.
How are you? Yeah? How's your summer?
Yeah.
Summer's usually the time that
I
get
had an
work done.
internship at Stimsites, but yeah, they're trying to get me with it.
Oh, yeah, that was fantastic. Oh, really?
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah, no, they need to write this on the Friday. So I
Oh, wow.
Margie, thank you for having me.